Welcome to our Cloud 7 training. Thank you so much for coming, 10 o'clock on a Wednesday. As I said before, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and ask them in that question panel. And you can also see earlier on there was a little orange arrow that'll help you hide that control arrow, or that control panel. So if we're going through some live demo and you want to follow us along and that starts to get in your way, just click that little orange arrow and it will go away. I'd also like to let you know that we're recording, and afterwards I will send you a video and a step-by-step guide. I'll also send you a survey because we want to continuously improve how we're doing, and if you could help us out with that, we'd really appreciate it. So thank you very much. And for anyone else who has recently joined us, go ahead and try out the chat box. Let us know how long you've been using Cloud 7. And at this point, for those of you who would like to follow along, I'd like to ask you now to go ahead and launch your browser. We recommend Firefox. It's probably going to give you the best performance for today's demo and overall. And just go to www.myitwebtop.com. And if you are following us along today, just let us know in the chat box if we're going too fast, if you'd like us to take a deeper dive into things, and then we'll also have a hard stop at 10:45 to make sure we handle any Q&A. And just so you know who's telling you what to do today, my name is Lori Mankin, and I'm the marketing assistant at MyIT Pros, and I'm so glad that we're coordinating this training for you guys today. It's nice to speak to you guys, and it's nice to see some new faces because usually as an IT department we only speak to the point of contact. So it's really wonderful for me to get to see some of your names, and I really enjoy that. Our trainer today is going to be Bill. Hey, Bill.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Excellent. He's going to help us out with lots of tricks. He'll brush over some beginner things, but he'll also take us into some really customized things and something for a little more of advanced users. So those of you who have been on it for a little longer will be able to utilize that. Just keep in touch with us on those questions in the chat panel. And if you'd like to go ahead, Bill, why don't you take us on our training?
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Cloud 7 training. We're really excited that you guys joined. Looking at this picture, this is probably what you guys looked like on day one. When we first transitioned clients to Cloud 7, oftentimes there's a little bit of shock. Things are very different, and we do our best trying to train users, trying to educate them on the transition, but even our best sometimes leaves users with a little bit of shock at the change. And so our goal today is to create some material that you can reference. As Lori mentioned, there's going to be some documents that we send out. We did trainings in the beginning, but we want to just, again, it's kind of a refresher for those of you who've been using it for a while. We want to make sure that you're fully leveraging all the features and benefits of Cloud 7. So Cloud 7, what is it? Why do we have it? So you guys have already been on it, but I want to refresh why we think it's such a powerful tool and why MyIT Pros as a company has chosen to use it as our platform for internal use. So what Cloud 7 does is it gives you the ability to access all of your applications, all of your data from anywhere, from any point, or from any device. And so it really creates this freedom of selection. So you can use an iPad, you can use a Mac, you can use a Windows desktop, you can use pretty much almost any device out there, an Android tablet, and you can access everything you need to from anywhere. Chris, our CEO, has a story about being at the car dealership waiting for his car to be fixed for an hour or two, and he had his iPad with him, and he was able to work very efficiently from that position just as if he was in his office. So that's the kind of power and freedom of mobility and flexibility we try to give with Cloud 7.
Chris, Lynn, and Mitch, you guys have been on it for quite a while now. Have you gotten a chance to enjoy some of these features remotely? What kinds of, where have you been that you've been able to log in and access all your work materials? Let us know in that chat box.
So this is a picture of Chris, our CEO, at the beach working. Just kidding.
Nice hat, Chris.
No. So Cloud 7 benefits, again, just highlighting freedom of location, being able to work from home, being able to work from the road, from your office. Cloud 7 works very well for companies that have multiple offices, and they want to give all of their users the same user experience, or for companies that have device flexibility, companies that have half Mac, half Windows, or start using a lot of tablets.
Lynn has gotten to use access to all of his work materials from his lake house. That sounds lovely. You probably looked a little bit like this guy in the photo from there. And then Mitch hasn't gotten a chance to work remotely. He's worked mostly from his desk. Mitch, I've had the same experience. I mostly work in office, but occasionally when I've gone on a trip for a seminar or something, I've gotten to work remotely. And so I hope you get the opportunity to give it a shot.
Yeah, my question for Lynn is, when he's working at his lake house, does he have these glasses on? That's pretty sweet.
And Chris Rhodes went ahead and says he does desk, home, hotels. Looks like you've got a nice broad range going on there, Chris.
Yeah, and I agree with Chris. I have a Windows laptop at home. I have a Windows desktop in the office, and I have my iPad. And I've used our platform from just about anywhere. I've connected on a plane, from hotels, traveling on the road, my extended family's houses over holidays, whatever the case is, I'm always connected, which really helps me do my job.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to quickly look at our outline for today. So we're going to, again, as Lori mentioned, just kind of brush over some basics, the account basics. Most of this stuff you guys will probably already know about the account. And then I'm going to quickly dive into managing applications, managing files. And as Lori mentioned, there's a lot of material I want to go over today. I probably won't even get to it all. We're going to have a hard stop at 10:45 to make sure we spend some time on Q&A. But if there's something that you have a question about, make sure and submit it either through the chat, or you can email Lori or myself after the webinar and ask us questions. We can make sure and get those to you. So I might be moving a little bit quick. If I do, I'm just trying to get through the material. Know that it'll be recorded, and we're also giving out a step-by-step document of everything I'm talking about today. So you should have a PDF or a PowerPoint that you can refer back to.
We really want this to be as interactive as possible, so anytime we're going over something, if you want to just chime in and say, hey, that would really help me a lot, let's go over it again, we would love to hear from you.
So at this point, I am going to get out of the PowerPoint and get back into the WebTop. So as Lori mentioned, we like to use Firefox. Firefox is a browser. It's one that we use. There's a couple of features in it that we like. However, it works with Internet Explorer. It works with Google Chrome. We're not saying you have to use Firefox. So if you're really comfortable using Internet Explorer, you don't have to change. We'll point out maybe a couple of differences today, but you know, it does have the flexibility of working with multiple browsers. So
for those of you following along, do you have what kind of browser are you using today? Just let us know.
So I'm going to log out and just log back in. I want to show you guys the login screen. So this is the login screen that you guys all should know. You've got your username, which you guys have been logging on. And one thing you'll notice down here is the forgot my password. And I don't know if any of you guys have clicked through that. The very, very first time that you log in, it asks you to set up a couple of pieces of information so that if you do log in or forget your password, you can have it resent to you. Mm-hmm. So you can click on that, and we actually have instructions in the PowerPoint that we'll send to you. I just wanted to briefly highlight that that's there.
So it looks like Len's using Explorer, Chris is using Internet Explorer, and Mitch is using Google Chrome. So we'll be sure to note some specialties as we come up to those guys.
So as I log in, should be relatively familiar to you. This is the web top. And the very first thing I want to look at is in the upper right-hand corner is My Account. This is where you keep track of your account basics. My Personal Info is where you update your name, title, that kind of information. Change password. So if you are logged in and you know your password but you'd like to change it, here is where you could come and change your password. And the other piece of information that I mentioned, the password recovery information. Here's where you can come in and change it. So you'll enter in a PIN, your mobile phone number, and the way that it works, if you forget your password, you click on I forgot my password, it'll ask you for your PIN, then it'll send a text to your phone with a reset password, because obviously you probably can't access your email if you're locked out of your account. And so this is just an easy way that you can get back into get back into your account if you forgot your password. So again, My Account, here's your account information, password recovery, that's all found right here. The very first time you logged in, and you guys, again, I'm just going to briefly mention this, you get a prompt to download it's going to look like this. You get prompted to download the Hosted Apps plugin for Citrix. Citrix is just the technology that powers our platform. There's a small software that you install. Just know that, let's say you go to a new device, you start working on an iPad, or you go to a desktop that you've never connected to before. The very first time you log in, you will get prompted to install this. You have to install it once, and then you won't have to touch it again.
I had to do it once on my Mac. I haven't seen it ever again. So
most of you have probably already done this. I just wanted to quickly point out that is there.
Lynn actually wants to know what to do if he doesn't remember his PIN, and I think that's a great question, Lynn. I actually, when I was preparing this training where I learned a lot, I didn't really know, oh man, what was my PIN? I don't remember entering that. So what you can do is you can go under those account settings that Bill pointed out right after this webinar and go ahead and reset it. So then you know what your PIN is going to be.
Right, and ultimately, if you get locked out of your account, can't remember your PIN, don't know what to do, that's what we're here for. Call us.
Absolutely.
We can walk you through. We can reset things for you. So if you do get in a bind, just got to remember our phone number, 472-6000, and we can set you up. So the second part of your web top that I'd like to look at is in the far left-hand side. You'll see something called My Programs. When shifting to the cloud, My Programs basically becomes your start menu. So traditionally, when you worked in a local environment on your desktop or laptop, you would click on the Start button, go to My Applications or My Programs, select the program you want to start, and it would open up. Now that you're in a Cloud 7 environment to launch applications, they're all going to be found over here. A couple of things I'll show you. One thing that you can do is you can organize your programs. So, for instance, I created a Microsoft Office folder, and I was able to drag all my Microsoft Office applications into this Office folder. Also, let's say you have a really long list of applications over here on the left. You could hide. So if there's an application you never use and you want to simplify this, very easy. You can just simply hide. For instance, I'm going to, let's say I'll hide Outlook. And I hit Save Changes. Now you'll see Outlook is no longer there. Just a quick tip about your programs. You don't have to change anything here, but if you're someone who likes to organize their folders or organize their applications, or you want to change the order, no problem. You simply click on this triangle and hit Organize.
I had about 20 applications all showing in a various order until about a month ago or 2 months ago, and man, it's a lot better having the things I use showing.
Right. The next thing I want to briefly discuss is the difference between running an internet browser, for instance, Internet Explorer, on your local PC versus running it remote on our Cloud 7. So right now, you guys can see my desktop. So I can launch a window, which I've actually already done, and I'm using Firefox, and this is Firefox running locally. I can also run Firefox from inside the platform, so I can run it remote. Here are some reasons why you might want to run it local versus remote. So obviously, to log into your webtop, you have to run it local.
Yep.
You have to launch Internet Explorer or Firefox to access Cloud 7. But once you're on Cloud 7, you can also run an internet browser from inside the cloud in Cloud 7. And what that gives you is, let's say I wanted to go to CNET, and I wanted to download a paper. This is a technology website that has downloads. And let's say that I wanted to download something. Well, if I want to download that and store it on the cloud, then it's best to launch the internet browser application from Cloud 7, so that way all the files that I'm using or downloading are all on the cloud. And so we recommend using your hosted browser for all of your work-related activities. Let's say you had a web application. You use something like Salesforce, or maybe you go to a vendor website.
I have a marketing tool, and I'm constantly needing to upload lists that are stored in files that I have on Cloud 7. So I definitely need to use the hosted browser for something like that.
Right, and so that's when it's great. Another tip is that you can create shortcuts. So you guys should have my shortcuts. You can come in here, create a shortcut to a website, and it'll pop up here. So that way, if you want to just have one click to go to your web application or go to a certain site that you refer back to often, you can have that shortcut right here on your desktop and quickly access it.
Chris, Lynn, and Mitch, are there any sites that you go to really frequently that you use and you need to upload files in that you can see the hosted browser coming into handy?
While you guys are thinking about that, a couple of reasons you don't want to use hosted browser. So when you're using hosted browser, you're launching it from our Cloud 7 platform, which is in a data center, and it's streaming that back to your computer or your device. Anything that is very bandwidth intensive, like let's say you're watching a YouTube video, or you're watching some sort of streaming video or streaming audio. Let's say you're someone who likes Pandora or whatever kind of streaming music, streaming audio, something that's very bandwidth intensive. It is probably best to do that outside of the Cloud 7, because what the Cloud 7 is doing, it's not really helping you, and it's actually creating an additional step for all of that traffic to get back to your desktop, and will probably not give you the best experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're working with files and websites and applications that are work related, do it all on the Cloud 7 platform. But if you're just doing your own personal surfing, shopping, or web streaming, audio, anything like that, it's best to just do that outside.
Yeah.
Just launch that from your local device and use it there.
Sometimes I need to watch a YouTube video to help me out with Photoshop, and I always make sure to run that on a local browser instead of the hosted browser so things don't get bogged down. Mitch hasn't been able to use the hosted browser too much, just doesn't come up for him, it sounds like. But and Lynn, the same thing, but he's intrigued by the shortcut, so he can set up some file shortcuts for himself. So those will save you a lot of time, Lynn. Once you get those going, it's just like you were working on shortcuts on your local computer before. So if you need more help with those, let us know.
Okay, at this point, just want to pause for a second. We're about halfway through. Just want to make sure that if you guys have questions, you make sure and insert those questions. It sounds like you guys have been doing a good job of chatting with Lori. So again, if you have something burning, question, and you want to make sure it gets answered, then go ahead and type that in. The next section I want to talk about is managing your files. And this is actually something that we get a lot of questions about, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I'm going to touch upon all of them. I don't have time to go into too much depth of each one, but I want you guys to be aware of all the different ways you can work with files. And then at that point, if you say, I've been accessing files this way, but Bill, you mentioned I think a better way, and you want to know more, then we have some step-by-step guides that we'll be giving. And feel free to reach out to us. We can talk to you and or your team and make sure you're using the Cloud 7 platform in the most efficient way.
So Mitch, this next part will be very helpful to you. You say that you're not sure if your files have been moved from the desktop to the cloud. There's lots of different ways to accomplish this, and that's what we're going to go over right now. So make sure if we're going too fast, chime in. And if you need us to show you anything, again, let us know. And we're going to show you a couple more advanced things like Bill said. Yeah, he says, yippee! He's excited about that.
All right.
And we'll include that, Chris, dragging files into folders that are on the cloud. Those are great questions.
So there's two ways to open up a file. One is you can click on the application. Like let's say you wanted to open up a PowerPoint application. I can launch PowerPoint, and from inside the application, what I can do is go to the File Open feature and basically browse the file that I want. So here I just opened up, PowerPoint, and I want to go open. Let's see, and this way I can just go click on the file that I want opened and open it that way. The other way to open up a file is to open up directly by clicking on the document that you want. So there's two ways to move and access files from inside Cloud 7. First is called Cloud File Manager. Sometimes you'll see it up here as a tab, and it'll be abbreviated as CFM. Inside Cloud File Manager, it will give you access to all of the company's shared drives, as well as your personal folder. So the way that Cloud 7 is set up is that everyone has a Y drive, and that is your drive. That is your personal space. That is up on the cloud. It has your desktop, your My Documents, all the different things that you would use, and no one else can see that but you. So this is where you could move your pictures. And this is where you'd want to move your documents if you want them to be accessible from anywhere. So a key question to ask, let's say that you have a laptop, and on your laptop you have a bunch of personal pictures, or maybe you have some music or some personal files. The first question you have to ask is, do these belong on the cloud? Are these my files personally, and do I need them on the cloud? You know, and some people use the cloud for their personal, and honestly, that's not for us to tell you whether you should or you shouldn't. That's probably should be dictated by your company policy. But if, you know, I certainly keep a couple of personal files on our cloud, and I know that it's a pretty common practice. So if you have files on your laptop and you'd like those to be accessible from anywhere, then you will need to move them into your personal drive or your Y drive on the cloud. And I'll show you how to do that here in a second. The second group, W, is groups. So this is typically where we break companies down into departments. They'll have an accounting, maybe a marketing, management, whatever kind of departments you have. This is where that group can have access to only that group's file.
I don't even see the other groups, which is great because I can just access only the groups that I have access to, permission to.
That's right. The way that this is set up, so if you're in the accounting group and you're not in marketing or sales or management, those shouldn't even show up. So when you click on groups, you'll see the groups that you're associated with and the documents and files that are associated with that group. Public is exactly what it means. This is the public share. This should be accessible by the entire company. Most companies have some sort of a shared drive that's accessible to everyone, where they may keep company files or HR documents, whatever the case may be. This is a public drive for everyone to access. So everyone should have these drives. They're set up in a standardized fashion for everyone on the Cloud 7 platform. And to click around, you can see that I just simply double-click inside the Cloud File Manager. You know, and again, this is a demo account, so there's not tons of documents in here, but I would click around until I got to the file I need, and then when you're ready to open it, you simply double-click on that file, and it'll open up. A couple of other things about Cloud File Manager. You'll see up here that there's a Create folder. So if you want to organize your folder or your groups folder, then you can create a folder, move stuff in, just like you would in a traditional Windows environment. Uploading. This is for uploading single files. So you can click on Upload, you can click on Add Files, or you can drag and drop.
This is really why we love the Firefox and the Chrome, because you can just click the file and drag it in there. With Internet Explorer, you do need to do a little bit of browsing and navigating, which can get a little more complicated, and that's why we really like Firefox and tell it.
Right. So Firefox is the only browser that supports the drag and drop feature. So I can go to my local desktop and I can drag a file into here, and it'll automatically just move files over, which is, you know, really helpful. It's not currently supported in Internet Explorer, but I mean, it's not. Again, it's just a little helpful. People like dragging and dropping. If you don't have drag and drop, you can just click on Add Files here and browse through File Explorer. Select the file you want to upload, and that's how you can upload files. Now, this is a great tool for uploading one file at a time, but if you want to upload a lot of files or folders, I'll show you another way that you can do that.
Mitch, Lynn, and Chris, have you guys ever uploaded files in this fashion? And I know that you all are accustomed to using different browsers. So have you had any trouble accessing this feature using the Add File? Nope. Excellent. Is this how you use it dominantly, Mitch? Is that how you upload files as of right now, and you're looking for a more efficient way?
So we talked about Cloud File Manager. The second way to manage files is using File Explorer, sometimes referred to as Windows Explorer. And it's an application you launch, so I'll click on this. And what this brings up is an application that should be familiar to any Windows user. This is Windows Explorer or File Explorer that's built into Windows. This would be the same as on a traditional environment, going to Start, clicking on Computer, and here and starting from here. So inside Explorer, you'll see that just like Cloud File Manager, I've got my different drives. I've got my W drives for group. I've got my public drives. I've got my Y drive, which is my personal user. So in this case, I'm using Demo 1. This will be my personal user account. So these are the three most often used maps drives. In File Explorer, one of the reasons I like it is just because it gives me a familiar environment. So when I start selecting in here, I can browse in a very familiar fashion. I can sort by name. I can sort by date modified or by type. So for instance, if I had a folder that had a lot of documents, I can quickly find the document I need. Or I can launch two File Explorers. So let's say you want to move around files on the cloud.
Okay.
So this is not talking about moving files from your local up to Cloud 7. This is moving files from one place on Cloud 7 to another. So I launched a second File Explorer, and then what I can do is I can actually do this. I now have two File Explorers up, and I can start dragging and dropping. So, you know, if I had a marketing folder that I wanted over here, I could take this and I could drag it over here and copy it, and I can move files around through dragging and dropping. Very easy. That becomes really efficient.
So Mitch, once we get your files up to the cloud, this is probably, since it sounds like you're going to need something more heavily organizational, something with a lot of capabilities, that you'll probably want to use the Files Explorer over the Cloud File Manager.
And here is another trick. When you have File Explorer open, you'll see over on the left-hand side all of your different drives. You'll also see that there's a CD/DVD drive and a local disk. What this is that it maps your local drives on your desktop or laptop up into the cloud.
So that's my CD-ROM disk on my computer. If I put a CD in my computer, that's where it's at.
So let's say that you were given a CD or a DVD that had some files on it. You need to get those files to the cloud. You can put that DVD into your desktop or laptop, log into your Cloud 7 webtop, open up File Explorer, and then down here you'll see that you can access that CD drive from the cloud.
Okay. Does that make sense to you guys?
And so I can click on my C drive, and I can actually tie back into my C drive and access files and pull them from into the cloud. So occasionally, and we have some screenshots of this to help out, but you know, it's a great way to access your local drive from the cloud if you need to pull files. So just think of it as pulling files. If you want to pull files into the cloud, you can use File Explorer. You can go access your local drive or your local DVD drive and pull files in.
The File Explorer, Mitch, is in the left My Programs section, right there on the left side.
And it's sometimes called Windows Explorer.
And maybe called Windows Explorer because you guys were set up pretty early on. Do you think, Bill, we can pull up, you have your local disk Windows Explorer up right now, so showing all the local files. Do you think you can launch another one that just shows Cloud 7 so Mitch can see how he could move his files over, or do we want to take a different route? That's fine.
So this is what it looks like when you open up File Explorer, Windows Explorer. You have all of your Cloud 7 drives, right? Your W, your X, your Y, and then you'll also see down here a list of other drives, and you may have wondered what these are. And so you have your CD drive and your local C drive. You can access files and pull them into the cloud. I want to briefly touch on another way to move files to the cloud. So I'm going to minimize my webtop, and I'm going to go to my local desktop, and I'm going to launch my computer. And this is something that we can set up. This is an advanced feature, and it's where you can map your cloud drives down to your local desktop or laptop. And this works for Windows and Mac PCs, Windows and Mac computers. And what I have is I've mapped a drive from my local system up to the cloud. And this is a great way to push files. So let's say you've got a bunch of documents on your desktop or in your My Documents folder, and you want to do this.
It sounds like a lot of our viewers out there have most of their documents still on their local computer, so this would really help them out a lot.
Right. So I would say first thing they need to do is decide, do these files belong on the cloud? Is this a file that is associated with my work, or I need to access from anywhere? If so, yes, move them to the cloud. Secondly, you can do it by pulling the files, which I showed briefly earlier, or by pushing the files up. And that's where you go to your local PC, and in all there's a couple of complicated steps I'm not going to review, but just know that we can map these drives, and then you can have access to your cloud files from your desktop. And you can easily move back and forth between your local desktop and the cloud. And so, in summary, there's a lot of different ways to move around files. And I don't want to confuse you guys, but I do want you to know the different ways. For most users, there's not a lot of moving files back and forth. All of their files, company files, all their applications, everything's on the cloud already, which is fine. But if you're a user that often finds themselves needing to get files from your local system up to the Cloud 7 drive, then there's three ways to do it. You can use Cloud File Manager,
where we just want to upload
where you just upload one file, and that's a simple click on this to upload a file. You can use File Explorer or Windows Explorer, and you can go and pull from your C drive or your DVD drive. Or the third option is MyIT Pros can help you map a drive on your local PC or your Mac to where you can access your cloud files from that local system. And that's a great way to push a bunch of folders, push a bunch of files up to the cloud. So those are the ways that you can move files around. I know that that's brief. We only have 5 minutes left.
Chris has to get going. Thanks, Chris. Be sure to contact us if you have any questions.
And if anyone wants to get, have a demonstration or need some help getting these MAPS drives set up, then just submit a ticket to support@myitpros.com. Our teams will help you get this set up. It only takes us a couple of steps, and it's very easy. So one final section I would like to review is what to do when things aren't working. And this is a troubleshooting section. The very first thing that MyIT Pros is going to recommend, if you're having problems, let's say a file's not opening, or let's say an application is hung, or an application won't launch, the very first thing you should do is log off and log back in. This is the equivalent of a reboot of your webtop. It fixes a number of things. I'm not going to go into all the different reasons this happens, but Cloud 7, any kind of cloud service is very dependent upon connectivity. So occasionally, let's say your internet goes down for a few seconds, or you have a blip in connection. Sometimes that can cause your applications to freeze or something like that. Number one thing to do, the best troubleshooting step you can take, log off, log back on.
Lynn, Mitch, have you guys gotten a chance to try I'm sure you've logged out at the end of the day, but have you ever run into a situation where things aren't working and just given this reboot a try? Let us know.
The second thing that you can do, and this would be a distant second, this is more advanced troubleshooting, is there's a help button in the upper right-hand corner with a number of things. You'll see that one of the options is self-help. You can click on self-help, and there's something called Check My Profile. When I click on this, what it's going to do is it's going to say, we're going to run a check on your user profile to see if there's any problems on the back end. It just runs some simple tests, some simple scripts. It normally takes a few minutes. You can simply start here. It'll go ahead and do everything in the background for you, let you know if it's fixed any issues. This is great if you're having problems launching applications, or you've already logged off and logged back on and you want to make sure that you continue troubleshooting. Another option is to terminate my sessions. This is great for advanced users. Essentially what this is that this is like your Control-Alt-Delete. Going into Task Manager,
okay,
you can go in and terminate a specific session. So let's say you had 10 applications open and you wanted to only terminate a few because they were acting up and you didn't want to terminate all of them. This is a great solution for that. Many of our users don't use it, but I just want to briefly touch on the fact that it's there.
I only run a couple applications at a time, but I know that a lot of people at our company will run 4 or 5, and this tool comes in handy for them. They really enjoy it. They don't want to relaunch all their programs after. And it looks like Lynn's been using the reboot from time to time, and it seems to be the most effective way that he's solving his
Yeah,
problem.
and we absolutely
I do that
agree.
too. I mean, I do that on my normal computer, Lynn. On the local computer, just turn it off and turn it on again.
Right, and some people will get in the habit of not logging off at the end of the day, and it's something that we recommend. So if you're a person who never logs off and you just leave it logged on, we recommend log off at the end of the day, log back in, and there's a lot of benefit to just starting fresh and logging off and logging back on. Speaking of logging off, when I do log off, there's several options. So when I hit log off, I can close things. Let's say I want to log off, but I still have a few emails I want to write.
Okay.
I can log off, but I can select to close programs manually. This will leave your programs open.
Wow. Okay.
And you can then close them out when you're done. Also, you can disconnect programs temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
Where this is really helpful is, let's say I've got my Outlook open, I've got Word, Excel, File Explorer, I've got all of these different applications open, and I'm working at my desk. And let's say it's the end of the day and I'm going to go home, and I don't want to shut everything down. I can log off, disconnect temporarily, and when I go home and I log back on, all my applications that were open at my office will now open up at home. So this is great for those users who want to disconnect temporarily, keep everything open. So if you're working on a document, it'll open that same document up exactly where you left off on another PC or on another device. It's also great when I come in for a meeting.
Yeah, right in here. I used it this morning.
Right. So I'm working on a PowerPoint at my office, and I want to go shift to our conference room. I can just disconnect temporarily, go log into my webtop in the conference room, and all my applications pop back up. Terminate all programs. This is a full reboot. This is when you want to completely shut everything down. At the end of the day, would be the button that you want to press, terminate all programs. And again, log off without closing programs. What this does is it will allow you to log off but keep your programs open. So those are a couple of different options.
What have you guys been typically selecting when you close so far? When you've been logging out, do you usually terminate programs? Did you even know? Did you just kind of say, oh, this looks good? Kind of what I did in the beginning.
So in the
if you terminate all your sessions, Len, then things are probably running pretty smoothly. It's good to make sure to close everything out if you're done for the day.
Last and not least, customize. You can customize your web top. Just like you customize your desktop, you can add objects. You can see I've got a search bar here. I've got my weather. I've got a calendar. I've got shortcuts. The way that you do all of this, again, is by going up to the upper right, clicking Customize, click Add Objects, and there's gadgets, financial tools, news, all of these different options that you can select from. And again, this is not critical to your work, but there might be some helpful tools. I just wanted you guys to see where you can do this. Also, you can just move stuff around. So if I want my weather to be down here, I can just drag and drop, and then I hit Save. And so you can quickly customize your web top how you want it. So with that, I think I'm going to stop overloading you guys with material.
Yeah.
I went over a lot. Hopefully this was helpful to you. We're going to be following up with some more step-by-step instructions for those of you guys who maybe you want a document to refer back to, or maybe you're the head of a department and people in your department couldn't come to this training. So we're going to make this training available, as well as we're going to send you some documents. We highly encourage you to spread those documents around your company or your department. Make sure people know all the different features they can use on Cloud 7.
I'll also send you guys a survey, and if you help me out and fill it out, I'll send you a Starbucks gift card. I'm going to switch over to something local pretty soon, but we're still working off of Starbucks. It looks like Mitch has never closed it, which, sometimes I'll have days where I don't close it. I hope it's working well for you, Mitch. It usually gives it a chance to recharge, so if you're running into hiccups, that might be a good way to reboot things. And at this point, we'd like to open up to Q&A, so if you have any questions, if there is something you want us to dive into deeper or go over again, we'd be happy to do that at this point, so just let us know.
I also just want to thank you for coming, taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to see, end users and interact with them and get to hear how they're working with the cloud.
Right, yeah, and I personally, I get jazzed about the cloud, and I love talking about the cloud, so I can talk about this all day. And I really feel like there are features of Cloud 7 that really can enable businesses to do things that they weren't able to do before. But I also know that some of our users don't even know about all the features, and that's why we really want to educate our clients who are on Cloud 7 so that they can fully leverage this platform. It's extremely powerful, and we have experienced that power and those benefits, and we want to make sure that all of our clients experience that as well and aren't left with the shocked face that we saw at the beginning of the program, which honestly, that's how everyone looks when they first come onto the platform, because it's such a shift. I mean, this technology, we refer to it as a disruptive technology because it really changes the way you work, and change is difficult, and we want to acknowledge that is difficult. And we want to acknowledge that sometimes change is hard for a company's employees.
But once you get used to those tools and you make them your own, like our CEO, Chris, he disconnects temporarily all the time because he's jumping from his office to in here to home, and that tool for him works really well. So once you get those things down that really make it a great feature for you and just broaden your horizons, I mean, it's fantastic. I really enjoy it a lot. Let's see. Lynn has a question. Oh, he hears our enthusiasm. Excellent.
It's great.
Do you guys have any more questions out there? Is there anything that we can go over again? I'll let you know as soon as I know when we're going to coordinate the next one of these, because definitely let your friends know if they need any assistance with, I'm sure you guys, I would hope you learned a lot. Can you add? Chris would like to know if we can add applications to his WebTop. How can I add applications to my WebTop?
Sure.
That's a great question.
So adding applications requires us to install that application on their cloud server, and then we have to publish it. So every application has an associated user group. So every user in a company only has access to the applications that they've been given authorization for. So that would not be something that a user can do on their own. So if you need an application published to your WebTop, then I would recommend initiating a support ticket with MyITPros. Send an email to support@myitpros.com outlining what application it is, and your dedicated service team will help work with you to get that application available for you. So that's not something a user can just do on their own, but we can certainly help do that if that's necessary.
Excellent. That sounds good. Take it easy, Lynn. Thank you for coming. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and log off for the day, but if you have any questions, you can email support@myitpros.com for any support questions. You can also email Bill or myself, bill@myitpros.com, or Lori@myitpros.com. You're welcome, Mitch. We're so glad that you could come today. Make sure to tell your coworkers and your peers if they're having any troubles. We really want to make sure they get the most out of this, and we'd love to help them. And let us know if you have any questions as well. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.